Hello, welcome to Board Game Barrister, our local game shop in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm Andy, and I'm here with Gordon, Glenn, and Dylan, and today we're talking Tangram City from Capstone Games, where we're all going to be putting these little Tangram pieces into our cities, trying to find balance between green space and buildings. Let's get into it. Welcome to Tangram City, where each player at the table is going to get one of these cities of their own to fill with buildings and parks and try to strike a balance, and also, if they're able, perfectly fill this space. To start the game, everybody's going to get their own park board, as well as an identical set of the same 23 Tangram style tiles. Each tile is composed of some number of squares and or triangles. This one has both. And you'll see on this side of the tile, everything is buildings, meaning it's all that kind of brown shade with the black rooftops. And everything on the back side of the tile is parks. It's a lot of green space and water. Everybody's also going to get 6 of these little triangular fountain tiles, which kind of count as a wild space. They'll complete a square of either building or park. So to start our first round, our starting player is going to deal 4 cards onto the table. It's always 4 cards no matter how many people you have playing. The one thing that changes is who's allowed to look at those cards. So for instance, in our 4-player game, our first player dealt 1 card to themselves, 1 card to the player on their left, 1 card to the 3rd and 4th players to share, and 1 card face up on the table. And you're allowed to look at the card you were dealt. So if you were dealt a card to just yourself, you can look at that card secretly anytime you'd like to. If you're sharing a card with somebody else, either of you is allowed to look at it anytime you'd like. And then we're off and playing. We're always going to start with the face-up card, which just means everybody's going to go find that tile shown in their supply and play it somewhere onto their board. And playing a tile just means putting it anywhere you'd like to, whether or not it's connected to anything else, somewhere on your board so that the squares fit within squares and the triangles fit within half of a square. Then we go to the starting player, who will then flip their card for everybody at the table to see, and everyone will play that card. And so on and so forth until everyone at the table has played that 4th tile for the 4th card that was flipped. Here's where we begin the end of the round, and the first thing we're going to do at the end of the round is that every player at the table has an opportunity to play 1 fountain from their supply onto their board anywhere they'd like, and only if they'd like to. And last, you're going to do 2 scoring-related things at the end of the round. The first of which is that each player is going to look at their board and find the biggest completed rectangle of squares currently present on their board. Right now we have 1 consistent rectangle completed between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares long here, which means we're going to score 5 points for that. We'll add that to the little point tracker here. And last, we're going to track our balance. Throughout the game, we're going to be trying to keep the number of building squares and park squares balanced as close together as possible. So right now, if I count my city, I've got 1 completed building square here, 1 completed here. This one's a half and half, which counts for neither. Same deal here. So I've got an entirety of 2 building squares completed. On the other hand, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 park squares completed, which means I'm a little bit out of balance, and in the future I'm going to want to lean a little bit more toward buildings and try to reestablish that balance. But I do have time for that because balance only actually matters at the very end of the game. This completes an entire round, so we're going to discard the cards we used for this round. The player to the starting player's left will be the new starting player, and they'll deal us 4 new cards for the next round. We'll play a total of 6 rounds, but it is important to note that we only have 23 tiles in our supply, and there's only 23 cards in the game. That means we have enough cards to play 5 full normal rounds, but in our 6th and final round, we're actually going to deal all 3 of the remaining cards face up so that players can make their final choices about where to put those final 3 tiles. And at the end of the game, your city is going to look a little bit more full like this. It's worth noting along the way, any tiles you don't want to play because they don't think they're going to fit into your puzzle, you are allowed to skip. And if a piece comes up that you just plain can't fit into your city anywhere, that one you skip as well. When we've completed our 6th and final round and everybody's got all their tiles on their cities, we're going to do final scoring. So we're going to do our biggest rectangle as usual. At this point, we've got a 4x7, which means we'll score 28 points off of our rectangle there. Then we're going to tally up all of our building spaces versus all of our park spaces on our board here, and what we're looking for is to strike perfect balance, which means we would have the exact same number of both. Finally, if a player manages to perfectly fill their board, meaning there is no empty triangles or squares left on their board, they get a bonus 15 points at the end. We'll tally up everybody's scores on the board and see who won it. Alright, we just got done playing with 4 players. Let's talk player count and time to play. So this game plays from 1 to 5 players, and one of the most beautiful things about it is that because all of the playing of the tiles is simultaneous, that's not going to really affect anything about the gameplay. You're doing your own puzzle on your board based on the cards that show up in the order they show up. So 1 to 5 players, you're going to play at about the same pace as the slowest player at your table every time, and that's the one thing that's going to matter. Even that said, this game says 30 minutes on the box, and I would probably put it at 20 to 30 minutes. It's pretty rare we say a game could be faster than the time that it says on the box, but we were rocketing along, and I think even our game took 30 minutes, and Gordon and I were thinking pretty hard about some of those moves at some point.
You wouldn't know it from my score, but...
Well, nor mine.
All right, is everyone good? Or no, Andy's still figuring it out.
My bad.
That's fine.
It's yucky out here. Ooh. Ooh. All right. Do you have this piece?
Yeah, right, yeah.
I love the fact that you got 2 different scoring things you're paying attention to. There's the one ongoing that's happening end of every round where you're scoring that biggest rectangle, but I also like the end goal scoring too, where I can get these bonus points in 2 ways. I can get a bonus for having how balanced my city is between green and city, and also if you can be like Dylan's board and have a completed perfect board as well, you get another bonus point. So you have those other considerations. It's not just the I want to score a bunch of points now, it's I have to score points now and I have to plan for the future.
You have that balance between, as Glenn was saying, the scoring your rectangles now and working towards your bonus points at the end of the game, but that is directly related to how hard do I want to think about my placement now versus giving myself options into the future, because I can see what tiles I have left to play and I want to, give myself the opportunities to play them, or when do I want to count on them coming in. So I might leave an opening for a piece to fit in later, so it's going to be great. I'm going to know where that piece fits. I'm not going to have to skip playing that piece. But sometimes that might be affecting my rectangle and scoring my points right now. So you have this nice balance from piece selection all the way through how am I going to show the green or the city side, the park or the city side.
Yeah, there were several times where I plotted, I'm going to say this piece to go in that spot, and then later on I'm like, well, now if I put that there, that's going to completely throw my balance out of whack.
I think I really enjoyed the complexity level, because depending on how you want to play it, you can either play with as much brain power as you want and plan out every single move, or do what I did and plan out your last 4 moves and just have that be the extent of it. You can have it be as complex or as casual as you really want it to be.
Yeah, no matter how you're playing it, it's built around small, deeply satisfying moments. Like, that was the whole time I was playing, like, win or lose, no matter what. The entire thing is completing blocks. And you go, all right, this piece fits in, and finally that rectangle is complete, and you can practically hear pistons sliding into place in your brain as you're going click, 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 click. I'm like, I can't imagine how pleasant it is to finish an entire board like Dylan did here. That feels like the perfect amount of dopamine to just hit your system all at once there.
That's what you described times 10.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
Skipping that one.
That one's first, right?
Yep.
Playing this
Okay,
one.
perfect.
And playing this one.
It doesn't really matter what
Play the
order we
last
put all this down in,
fountain.
right? Because we can just
Bing
plot it
bong.
out, and then
Yeah.
I'm going to be happy for you in a second. Dylan.
No, be happy for me now.
Not now.
You have to be happy for
It's
me now.
not now. I'm going to be sad for me first, then I'll be impressed by yours.
And I will say I appreciate, because some of the tiles are shaped almost identically or are identically. They put these little exclamation points on the card to say, hey, make sure you're looking at the right one. And you can do it by trying to compare the orientation, but they also do different art on those cards. So you can say, this is the one that has the big pond in the middle and the green one. So I can then identify, so I play the right piece.
Yep.
I love games that give everyone access to the same materials at the same time, and you make different choices with them. I just love that. I find it so satisfying to play.
Yep.
Yeah, I really appreciate, and it's not a huge decision point, but that when they were creating this, at some point in testing, they came up with the decision to make it so that you would see every piece in your selection during the game. So there's a lot of games like this could easily go the route of, okay, take 2 cards and take them out of the deck to start, and you know you're not going to see those secret pieces, so you can't count on seeing all your pieces. That would be so much more stressful. All of the tension is in my ability to plan my city rather than what's actually going to hit the table. Was great. Such a good choice. Alrighty, I think that does it for Tangram City. Thanks so much for joining us for this one. We had a really good time with the game, and we hope you had fun watching. As always, subscribe if you want to see our new videos every single week when we post those. Leave a comment, hit that like button, and check out our online store where you will find Tangram City. You will find a bunch of other cool games as well. For the time being, we really appreciate you joining us this week, and we'll see you next time.